Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rebel Crow Psychic Show with your host Athena Silver.
Hi guys, I'm Anja River.
Tonight we are going to talk about the exorcism of Anja River.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to talk about a conversation that her and I had the other night, and we figured it was a good one that we should share with all of you and really dive deep into her experience. It was very strange, it was interesting, and I think you guys are going to like it. Why don't you start us off and give us a little bit of a cliff note so we know what happened?
I feel like there was so much there, and I was really grateful to talk to you because you definitely know a lot more about working with spirits than I do. I've had contact since I was a child, and you know, depending, it waxes and wanes depending on what I do. You know, like sometimes I just block it out completely. So anyway, it's fall. I think maybe the veil is thinning a little bit, and I have had like a couple of nights like in a row, like maybe 3 or 4 nights where I'm having these intense dreams, including people who have passed on that I don't know. So like brand new spirits that are coming in to chat with me, I guess.
That happens a lot during this time, and you're right, the veil is thinning. In my experience, I start to feel it like the first couple of weeks in September, and as it drops down from September into October, towards the end of October, the intensity just cranks up little by little by little until it's like almost unbearable by the time it gets to Samhain, Halloween, and Dia de los Muertos. You can feel each ancestor, each spirit slipping through and coming by one, and that veil just thins and thins as we get closer to the end of October. So you guys are going to start to feel it, I'm sure, yourselves as we get closer.
Yeah, and there's so many different types of contact too. Like I've always been pretty strong with the ancestor contact, but this was definitely not ancestor contact. You know, it was very, very different. So I was really grateful for your help. So I'll explain maybe one of the dreams that really stood out. So I'm in this business center, like a hotel type of like conference center in Canada. I don't know why Canada, but it's in Canada. And I was there meeting with 2 women, and they left the room, or I don't remember, they were not in the room at some point, and there was a man there. And I had noticed that he wasn't interacting with the women at all. And I thought it was really strange. And I was just like kind of questioning him a little bit, and he was sneering at me. So this was not a nice presence. And I was like, oh, you're not alive, are you? And then, okay, I'm so sorry, but he showed me like he had killed himself. So it was like really scary. So I saw like, you know, what he had done. And then he was like kind of sneering at me. So that was like a super disturbing, intense dream that I had. And I think that was one of the first ones. But I kept having more dreams with different people coming in. And it was becoming clear that it was like contact, you know, because they're, you know, just night after night after night. And one of them was she was somebody who looked like our great grandmother, and at first like, oh, that's our great grandmother, that's my great grandmother. And I looked a little bit closer, and I could see, like, first of all, she wasn't smiling, so I was like, that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah, that's not her.
It was her. She loved to laugh, she loved to smile. You know, she was like really warm presence. So I was like, that's not her. And then I noticed like little other details, like her lipstick shade was a little bit off, and the pattern of her dress was like a little bit like off, you know, like it was like these tiny flowers. And I was like,
oh, hell no, she would never wear that.
I don't think she would. And so the detail
she was a fashion icon.
Yeah, right. So I was like, no, this is definitely not her. And it was so weird because it, like, from afar, it would have been like, oh, that's her, you know, and you get closer and there's like these little details that are not right. So I thought that was really interesting. And then one of the other things that was really fascinating to me was Do you know, I know you know this, right? You help me explain it. You know how when you hear, okay, so I'm in the dream. So I'm hearing like these different things as well, hearing different voices as well. And in the dream, it's usually like a further away kind of a hearing, right?
Yeah.
So at one point, I must have been between, waking, dreaming, and waking. And I was hearing like 3 or 4 different voices, like far away. And then one really close to my ear said my full name.
Ah! It's always creepy when they do that.
I know that happens to you all the time, right?
It does. And it's creepy as hell. It always catches me off guard too. Because I'm like, wait a minute, you know me? Okay.
Yeah, it was really weird because it was like I definitely didn't recognize that voice. Mm-hmm. Sometimes like I call it like a third ear hearing, like you're awake and
clairaudience.
Yeah, but it's not like hearing. Sometimes it is, but it's not like hearing. It's
in my experience, it comes in layers. The way I perceive it is I have this like auric circle around me. Everybody has an aura. Right where my aura ends, that's the first line of spirits that typically that's as close as they'll get, unless I work with them one-on-one and have invited them inside. Now, they layer up kind of like a stadium seating from there, and then there's ones that are even further out. I have them where different positions mean different things. I like the ones that are really trying to bring forth a message will step close. The ones that are just looking will be kind of in the middle or afar. And then ones that are uninvited will be even further than that. I'll still feel them. I'll still hear them, but they cannot get close to me. They can only get a certain ways away.
I have a question. Did you learn this from your guides or from a different source?
Oh, that's a complicated answer.
You don't have to answer if you can't.
Nah, I mean, I'll answer in the sake of people's interest, because this is something that not most people, people without the perception probably would never experience. I have it ordered a certain way through how I work with my guardian spirits, my guardian protector in particular, and also the different types of spirits that I work with. I pretty much everybody has to go through this one spirit in order to interact with me at all. Mm-hmm. If any danger is perceived, if there's certain ones at a certain vibration, if it's a very low vibrational spirit, it's not on my radar. I'll feel it, but it's not going to be able to get close to me.
Yeah.
Some of that was taught to me through spiritual work. Some of that was taught to me through a tradition. Some of that was taught to me through my spirit guide, itself. It's a way to protect yourself. And it's also a way where you can manage the amount of spirits that come around you. Because when you're open and fully open, and in alignment, you shine really bright to them. And a lot of those lost spirits that we consider them ghosts, they are attracted to us like a moth to the zappy light, like the bug light that, when they're dead. It's like that. So it's complicated, but I have them set up in a certain way where I can manage who's coming near me and who needs to say stuff, and where they're standing means a different thing. Yeah. It's complicated.
Wow, that's great. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I don't really talk about it. Nobody's ever asked, It's a way for me to manage them, and it's a way for me to protect myself, because not all spirits have good intentions. And when you're very open, a lot of bad comes with the good. So it's always good to be prepared and spiritually protected.
That's what stopped me when I was a kid. Like I was definitely like open and had these, this contact early on. And when you don't have, I did, I've shared in previous episodes that my mom taught me some stuff to basically just shut it down, but or actually like meet and try to work through whatever was happening. So you had some good advice for me. Do you want to pick into my experience at all? And
sure, yeah. The first thing that I want to say is what these things that are coming to you and that are mimicking people and spirits that you're familiar with, I call those the mimicking spirits. They're the ones it's like they're wandering. They don't really have much to do, so they want some attention. So they'll pretend to be your loved one and make you feel all good, but it never feels right. There's always you'll always feel like something's not right here, you know? And I believe you said that.
It was offensive to me. Like I felt really offended by it, you know, even if it was well intentioned, because it's taking advantage of, you know.
It's annoying, but they're doing it because they got nothing better to do. They don't want to cross over. A lot of them are very low density entities, you know. Yeah. Some people would say quote unquote demons or whatever, you know. They like to lie very low down. You know, they're not very ascended. They're not enlightened. You know, a lot of them are still living cyclically through the experience they had with their death.
Yeah.
The first dream that you were talking about, the man that had took his own life, that happens to me a lot, where when I encounter a spirit that's just kind of wandering around, the first thing they show me is how they passed. And a lot of times they'll just continuously show it to you.
Yeah.
So I have issues going into places that are notorious for, you know, hangings and shootings and killings, because that's the first thing that the spirit will show me is, this is how I died. And it was horrible. And it was graphic and I hurt and I don't know what to do. You know, a lot of times they're just looking to be crossed over and to find absolution and help on the other side, you know. But there are some spirits you encounter that they're not ready to move on, that they're sitting on the park bench waiting for the bus to come. They know damn well the bus is never going to come, but they want to wait. And that's their right. You know, if that's the afterlife you want to have, by all means. You know?
I can't even imagine, but I mean, I can. It makes sense. People come all different ways, you know, like we're all in different states. And
it happens a lot for mothers that have lost children.
Yeah.
That's the most common scenario I see for that, is they lost a child in life, usually early on, and they've carried that loss their entire life. And they don't want to leave that house because they feel like their child will come back. It ties them to the memory of that child. Right. Regardless if they had other children and other experiences, you know, they're still hung up on the life that they never got to experience. You know, it's that what if. And if I'll ask them, hey, you want me to cross you over? I will help you. And if they say no, I respect it. Unless they're really bothering the living. Then some people get crossed over whether they like it or not.
Right.
You know? But I typically respect what they ask. That's just me. I would say, to your point about seeing things in childhood, I had the same, you know, a similar experience growing up. To me, when I was very young, they used to look like shadows. So, you know, a lot of the time kids will say, oh, there's a monster under my bed. There's a monster in my closet. A lot of times they're seeing shadows of the spirits coming in and out. And the younger they are, the closer they are to the other side. So they're able to perceive a lot of things that us as adults with our closed, blocked, covered up chakras with blindfolds and handcuffs on them, we can't see because we're too busy, you know, anchored to our 9 to 5, not dreaming or using our imaginations anymore. We shut down our ability to perceive things that are different, you know, light sources or different vibrations, because we're so focused on what's in front of us, you know.
My kids see stuff now. My older one is starting to phase out of that, but they see stuff all the time. I can tell.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, it's what they say too. Like my oldest was saying something about someone who had passed that he never met. Mm-hmm. And it was just, like,
my little one used to tell me stories about our grandmother, things that he could not have possibly known, and called her by her nickname that her parents called her, that none of us called her. And then one day went to the refrigerator and pointed to the picture and said, "That's the lady I see at night."
Wow.
You know? And this is not just one instance. This is several instances. Like, he has me full-blown convinced that he's met her. And she passed away, 15 years before he was born. So, but they come when they come. Family is family. But back to the point of when I was a child, they would look like shadows, and I would see them in the corners, and they would crawl up to the top of the, where the ceiling is in the corner. And sometimes it would look like they would run across the room and disappear out the window, although the window was closed. Mm-hmm. So it as a child, it can be extremely frightening, The ghost story episode, I told the story about when I was young at our great-grandmother's house, the one you were speaking about in your dream. I was at her house and I saw a spirit of the land, and I saw the full-fledged spirit and freaked out and hid under my covers shivering, Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't heard that episode, it's really hilarious and you should definitely check it out.
That was a good one.
It was. We're going to definitely do a part 2. But anyway, but to that point, it freaks you out as a child. You don't know what you're seeing. You know that whatever you're seeing is not alive, and it's very hard to reconcile that especially if you grew up in a household where there was no alternative spirituality, where either there was full-blown atheism, you didn't see nothing exists, or to the opposite end of the spectrum, where they're super religious, but it doesn't jive with the constructs of that particular religion. No hate. It's just some people are more open-minded than others. And, if you don't know what your child is experiencing, it can be really hard to explain to them, that it's okay, and to justify what they're seeing. I would say, as advice for parents out there that are having children having these experiences, be as supportive as possible. Ask them questions about it. When my youngest would tell me about my grandmother, I would ask a question, go, that's cool. All right. What'd she say? Oh, tell her I love her too. Things like that, because it helps them to not negate their own intuition and their own experiences. You're not teaching them to shut down. You're saying, maybe you did see it. I don't know. I wasn't there, and it makes the bond that you have with your child a lot closer, because they feel like you trust them and they trust you too. So, but yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
So what else about this experience, what else do you think people should know? Because I thought it was cool. I think it's cool that you're going through that and you're able to hear the spirits now coming through in layers. That's a big deal that they're coming in layers.
Yeah. It's hard because I feel like I've blocked out how do I say this nicely? Like the lower vibration spirits for a while, like I definitely had the experiences where I would had contact in my house, but not like these random things, like random people, sorry, not things, people, these random experiences, and it's unsettling, like, so, one thing I took away from it was I definitely need to work on, boundaries, because I would like to continue to open up to this experience, but it has to be like for a purpose,
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to just like overhear my neighbors' conversations all the time, or, like
I have it where when I'm sitting on a line and I'm waiting, I'll start hearing other people's conversations in their head. That's always fun. I'll be at CVS waiting to check out, and I'm hearing somebody ask themselves, do I need to buy pads? I don't know. I know I need milk. I don't know. I'll come back later. Like mundane things. And I'm just like, all right, whatever.
You don't really want, like someone like me, I don't know if you want that, but I don't want that, like it's not something that like, if there's no
making lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like ancestors, coming in and usually, and it's different because ancestors usually are not loud, like I feel it more than I hear it. So that's kind of interesting, right? Like,
yeah, I have the opposite. I feel like with our particular relations, they are loud as hell. Whenever they want to listen to salsa music, and I can feel them dancing around me. It feels like I'm in the middle of a party.
Yeah, I do have that with our shared relatives.
Then they turn me into a freaking DJ at the fiesta because they don't want to listen to Daddy Yankee. They want hella bachata. So I'm sitting here listening to love songs in Spanish by myself in my own house, and all these spirits are dancing.
I usually get more my mom's family. Like you're with me all the time. They're always popping in, right? So, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have it with the other side. I have it with my mom's family.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't, they do come to me, but it's far less than my mom's side.
Yeah.
I feel like they're always here, they're always coming in, like they're always here right here, right before we start recording. And
everybody loves to smoke cigarettes in my house. Spirits. Really? Oh yeah. They all like, I'll smell like smoke, and I'll smell like liquor and beer and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll hear like glasses clanging together. Like they turn up to party at my house. I don't know why.
Because that's what we did in life when they were in life. Like that's how we always got together to party.
Yeah. But
you're just continuing that. I guess my mom's side was like super quiet, they definitely were like just super quiet. So it's just like the energy fills the space. So maybe I don't have enough of like an opportunity for our ancestors to
call them in. Call them in. They're fun. But and I'll tell you, not one of them shows up. Everybody shows up.
I know.
It's like a freaking caravan full of people. But with my dad's family, anytime they come around, it's usually the very, very, very old ancestors. And I've had a couple of experiences. We were talking about this the other night. I had a couple of experiences when I was doing ancestral healing with that lineage. I was repairing and elevating anybody who needed elevation, who needed to be seated as an ancestor. There's a lot to go down that road. In this life, I never really got to know them. My dad was estranged from his family for a very long time. And so I never grew up with them. I only met my grandmother when I was like 17. So it's like I never really knew them. And they're all
I didn't know it was that late.
Anyway. Huh?
I didn't know it was that late that you met her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was almost an adult.
Wow.
We're cool now. Shout out to my grandmother. Shout out to Joanne. But no, I never really connected with that side of my ancestry until I went back to do the repair work on the ancestral line. And the first thing they showed me, and I hate to be graphic, but I'm just going to be real with all of you. The first time I journeyed to go see them, they showed me like animals hanging upside down in trees and people hanging upside down in trees. They all looked like they had been sacrificed. And it was just this forest of like trees and dead people and animals. And the first reaction I had was, what the hell's going on here? Then I was like, I kind of recoiled for a second. And then I was like, no, they're showing me this for a reason. Let me look, let me see. And then it dawned on me that they were showing me their most sacred, potent, magical ceremony that they had. It was like they were trying to show me like this is part of your heritage, that, that the old gods are a part of you. And, we want to, because I'm a spiritual person and a spiritual worker, I think that they were trying to show me the big guns. So that I would understand that they were magical people themselves. Yeah. I think that's what they were trying to get across. But, but when I first looked at it, I was like, kind of like, what the hell? My human side, my ego kind of was like, am I next? But But then I calmed down and I noticed, like, I'm like, okay, they would only show me this if it was truly important, and you kind of have to approach spiritual work that way. They will show you things and you may have your human feelings about it, but you got to stop for a second and really look at what they're showing you, because it's a sign, it's a message, it's something that they're sharing with you, whether that be the pain that they experienced during this lifetime or their most magical sacred right. It's different in all the situations, but you've got to really be open-minded and open-hearted and understand that this was a person at one point and they deserve respect and dignity.
So, but you're talking about ancestors though. So I have a specific question for you.
Sure.
To that point. Knowing that I don't really have good boundaries set up yet, and going back to all those dreams, would you suggest that, like, if that happened again in the future, and I'm working on like some physical boundaries, stuff, but not so much like the spiritual boundaries, like I haven't really done the work that I need to, which I'm going to ASAP, but would you entertain like a lower vibrational spirit?
First, I'm going to say is you need to work with your principal protecting guide, your guardian angel, whatever you want to call it. You need to set up an understanding that they are there to cast that net around you and protect you from any vibrational being, whether it's high, low, or in between, and work through that entity before any other spirit approaches you, because they're going to make sure that they can't feed off of you, that your energy is contained within itself, that you're not taking too much on, or it's a delicate dance. I would also say that it's not something that you take lightly. This is not for fun. A lot of times when you talk to true people who are really spirit workers that are really working with these ancestors and these spirit and these deities and all that, they will tell you that it's a double-edged sword, that it's not like the movies, that this is something that you experience on a day-to-day.
And it takes a lot to build up. Like, even I'm saying, like, I don't have the right energetic protections in place right now, but it doesn't mean other work hasn't been done, or
of course.
And it's crazy because, like, you can have experiences like this, and some people might be like, oh, that's so cool, whatever. It can really throw it can really, really throw you off, for like long periods of time if you're not prepared, psychically, energetically, boundary wise, So
even psychologically, you can take your ego, your psychology could take a hit if you're not understanding and rationalizing and logically, and even on a subconscious level, understanding what's going on, and contextualizing it, when you do this kind of work, you really need to know what you're made of. You really have to have that true north about yourself, or you can get lost. You can get, there's hauntings that can happen. There's possessions that can happen. There's, attachments that can happen where the spirit can attach onto you and feed your energy.
Yeah.
That happens because you're not protected properly. Not only aurically, energetically, you're not protected, but you're probably not cleansing yourself, cleansing your home, cleansing your tools, shutting down portals after you open them. When you're casting circles, you're not, going through and reopening it properly, So there's a lot that can go into this, Another one I see a lot is kids playing around with spirit boards, and they're opening that portal and they're not closing it properly, and they're not cleansing themselves afterwards and purging their energies. There's a lot of issues that can come up from that.
I hate those things.
I mean, I like it, but I know how to use it. It's all in. Don't use something that you don't know how to use. These are tools. They're not toys, And it's one of those things. It's like, if you're going to open the door, you got to know how to close it and lock it just in case.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
For people that are having similar instances as you having these dreams, I think I told you this the other night. Put a bowl of coarse sea salt underneath your bed where you lay in the bed up by your head, because it's going to draw the negativity out, like that negative energy out of you. And it's going to kind of become like a filter as while you're sleeping, especially because this issue's happening while you're in dream. So,
yeah, I love sea salt for everything. It's so good. It's such a good purifier.
oh, definitely. Like that's the two things that go together in my book: purification and protection. You need to make sure that you clean yourself up and then make sure you're protected so that this issue doesn't happen anymore,
Yeah.
So I think we need to do a whole episode on that,
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah,
so much that you can do to make sure that you're in a good psychically hygienic state in order to do your workings.
And it's almost like you kind of have to do it like regularly. Like that's why new moon, the full moon is kind of like a nice reminder to clean,
See, I'm the type, I do some kind of purging, some kind of cleansing every single day.
Yeah.
It's good to have a routine to balance yourself so that you know where your true north is. So you can tell if you're having a day where you don't feel right, because you know what right feels like.
And what do you usually do? Like, will you choose not to work on those kinds of days? Or you just...
Oh, yeah. If I'm not feeling right, I am not making any kind of candles. I'm like, especially making stuff for other people, because I do make products every now and then for people, for clients. And like I will not even touch the supplies if I'm in a funk, or if I'm physically not feeling good. There are certain ceremonies I won't do if I'm not feeling good. There are certain ceremonies I won't do if I have my period. It depends on what you're doing. But if you're not in tip-top shape, if there's something that's off, you need to address that before you decide to go into ceremony or go in to do some spell work or anything like that, because all of this gets affected. Your body, you've got to be running like a prize Ferrari, if you're going to do this kind of work. It's very taxing. You don't want to be the beat up Pinto, from the 80s. The one that touched the bumper and it lights in flames. You don't want that. You want to make sure that you are in good condition so that this work doesn't wreck you. Because I'll tell you, there's nights where I'll do 2 or 3 mediumship readings in a night, and by 8 o'clock I'm dead. I'm tired. I physically don't have it in me to give anymore, because spirit connection takes a lot of energy, a ton of energy. That's why I'm always tired.
Yeah, it's really tiring. Like I totally get it. Like I don't know how you do it all day, like when we're doing the fairs and stuff and you're doing like the tarot readings back to back to back to back to back.
I'll tell you, agua florida, ADHD, and massive amounts of Starbucks coffee.
For me, that's why I only take a few. Like I'm like, nope.
And I can't eat anything. Anytime I eat anything, it grounds me too much, and I'm not in a good state. Like anybody who's seen us at the psychic fairs, people are like, "Oh, aren't you hungry?" I'll eat later. I don't even care if it's 10 o'clock at night. I'll eat later, because the minute I eat, and especially meat, I'm grounded. I can't move. You have
a really good point too, because that was one thing that I realized. Like so during this experience when I was having these visitations, I bought a 6-pack of cider, and I had it over a course of a couple of days. So I'm talking like one beer, like one 12-ounce thing, and then another day I'd have like 2 or whatever. And I really feel like I am super sensitive to it now. Like it's really weird. And it kind of sucks, because it's like, oh, basically you really shouldn't drink at this point,
Well, that's really why I don't drink, like any of you that actually, that know me, I don't drink at all. And it's because of the energetic differences. I am very, very sensitive. And the minute even I have, half a drink, me a whole drink or whatever it is, I feel off. I feel really off.
Yeah. I noticed it this time especially, and I've been doing some other work. So I think, whatever happened, something shifted, and I'm just like super hypersensitive to even like a little bit of alcohol. Like, whereas like, a couple of years ago, that would be nothing.
Yeah.
And now like, I can't even, like, and it's, so I'm saying like, you're right. Like about what you eat too, not just eating at all, but that's a good too, like what you eat and, all of that like affects the ability to connect or, what you're connecting to, which is,
it's, like I said, you got to look at your body as that Ferrari. You want it running, turning on a dime, running nice and lean. You want to be good. You've got to make sure you find a routine. For me, it's not drinking alcohol, not overeating, making sure I'm very careful and picky about what I eat, making sure that I physically feel as good as possible, making sure I'm grounded and meditating daily and working on myself. I'm constantly working on myself, and because there's always something new to fix, just when I think I get to the bottom, I realize, oh my God, there's another 25 floors down that I got to work on.
Why would you say to fix? It's more like calibrate or balance.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But sometimes there are legitimate problems, and you've got to be able to be open enough to see them for what they are,
Yeah.
So
it's amazing how much work goes into this work.
Oh yeah.
When you see like a tarot reader, it's never just the front end of like the experience of getting your cards done. It's like this whole life behind it that has to be supported and nurtured and
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it really is. It's incredible. It's incredible how much goes into it.
Definitely. And I noticed that every time I meet a new person, a spiritual worker, a priestess or a priest or a tarot reader, everybody has their story about how they got there. It's always, they got screwed over, they had to find themselves, they had to overcome adversity, their leg don't work. Everybody has their thing and their reason and how they came to this work, but typically it saves them. That's the medium between every one of us is this work has saved us in one way or another.
Yeah.
So on that note, I think we should end,
Yeah.
Make sure that you guys like, follow, and subscribe at Rebel Crow Psychic Show. If you want to see more of our episodes, we do a weekly podcast episode. It's available on YouTube and on all major podcasting platforms. Our website is rebelcrowpsychicshow.com. If you want to have a tarot reading or a mediumship reading or spiritual cleansing with me, Athena Silver, you can find my website at readingswithathenasilver.com. I'm on Instagram at athena.silver, and I'm on TikTok at Athena_silver. I'm on Facebook too. How do they get a hold of you, Anja?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Anja River, ANJARIVER, and feel free to DM me if you want a tarot reading with me.
Definitely. And we hope you guys enjoyed tonight's chit chat episode about, Anja going possessed. Her exorcism. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you guys next week. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.